Okay, welcome back. I'm going to be talking about weapons today. My son says to me, I know your airplane films are really good and intelligent, Dad, but honestly most people are not into airplanes, okay, so your films are boring. Well, I'm still going to do the flying videos, but I want to do some other things I'm interested in as well. Now, as you know, I was talking the other day about Gurkha knives, weapons, and I bought a book because I figured that I would like to make knives on a bit of a forge and metalwork, that sort of thing that you used to do at school, only you hated it. So I bought one of these books, how to make knives, and my wife won't let me do it. She said, no, she started screaming, no, my house isn't really suitable, but you don't actually need that much stuff. And from what I've been reading in this book, I'm not a blacksmith, but I have been doing lots of research on the internet. I'm looking into the possibility of making knives, and I'm actually looking at these guys up in Nepal who make these kukris, the Gurkha knives, and that, and they have really basic equipment up there. And I was surprised. You don't even need a big anvil and a forge, and the forges that they've got are not like the blacksmiths that you go to and have a look at in England and places like that, where they've got a big anvil, a big workshop, they've got power hammers, they've got saws, they've got grinders, they've got everything. But these guys up in Nepal don't have any of that. What they have is the head off a big lump hammer. If you watch the video closely, the anvil they're using is a lump hammer head, and it's set in concrete on the ground. And they put the knife on it, and they're hitting it and putting it back in the forge. And they've just got some coals in a corner, and a dude with a bellows pumping air to get it hot, and then they pull the knife back out when it's hot enough, and they start hitting it again. I thought, wouldn't that be fascinating to make knives? I'm sure I'm not the only one who would like to make some knives and stuff like that, just out of curiosity, you know, not for any particular purpose. And then the thought dawned on me. I thought, oh, I'll buy a book and I'll read about it. I've watched loads of people making Damascus steel and stuff like this, but it's all like high industrial machinery and welding equipment, and it's all quite advanced for me. And so I'm looking at a very, very basic level of doing this sort of thing. And then I realised you could get a propane burner for a few £100 on Amazon. And you could just big enough to slide a sword into it, for example. Now, you might have come across one of these. They're very, very popular. They're the samurai sword. Okay, this is a cheap knockoff from China. Okay, and it's the blades actually start to go a bit rusty on this one. And it's actually got "Made in China" stamped on the blade. They're worth new, I would say, probably £40. You could probably get one second hand for £20 or a tenner even, something like that. You know, it's something that you just hang on the wall. These are mass produced and they are probably stamped out on a machine, but most of the work has actually been done for you. Now, if you pop the pin out, get rid of the plastic handle and the handguard things, so you got it down to the bare blade. You could then actually work on the bare blade, having most of the work done for you. If you're just sort of beginning, this is what I'm thinking, because I'm not a blacksmith. I don't know, but I have read the book on how to treat these things. This thing has probably never been heat treated. It's probably been stamped out on a machine and ground into shape and then just polished and put in a box. So the first thing you need to do is heat treat it. Now what they do is the metal has it changes its state at different temperatures, and so what they do is they do a thing called normalizing. So if you get your cheap samurai sword, put it in your burner, your propane burner, and get it up to heat. You know, it goes red, and then it goes through a few different colours. It goes to orange, and it goes to white. And if it goes to white, it'll fall apart. It's too hot. So you've got to get it to this orange colour. And if you've got a magnet, apparently, we all know steel's magnetic. But it gets to a certain point in the temperature range where it's no longer magnetic, and it wants to go a little bit more than that, but not too much. It's like an orange colour, from what I've gathered. And then what they do, you take it back out of the furnace, just the blade, nothing else. And then they let it cool down and slowly in the air. And this is called normalizing, and this takes away all the stress that's in the blade from being stamped and produced in a factory and things like this. And you could do that a few times if you wanted to, but all the profiles, everything's already been done for you. All the hard work's done. So then the next stage is hardening. And what they do is they heat it back up to temperature just more than when it's not magnetic anymore. So it's all nicely orange, and then they get a drain pipe full of cooking oil, which you use in the kitchen, and you take it out of the furnace, and then you go into the cooking oil, and it pops and fizzes, and you have to wear gloves and things. But what this is doing, it's hardening the blade. Now, if you do it too fast, it won't do it properly. If you do it too slow, it won't do it properly. So you have to do it just right, so it hardens the entire blade inside as well as the outside. And then when you draw it out, you have a hardened steel blade. Okay? Then you've got to do a thing called, what was it called? There is the term in there, but you have to put it in keep it hot in an oven or something. So it's not as hot as when it was changing colour and doing all that, but you've got to keep it quite warm for a period of time to sort of soften it up a bit, because a really hardened sword is brittle. You start having a fight with it and it will just snap in half. So you don't want it that hard, you need to soften it a bit. So they put them in the oven at 400 degrees centigrade for, I don't know, as long as you want, I suppose, and then cool it down really, really slowly. We're talking hours, maybe 4 hours, something like that, from what I've gleaned in the book. And then what you finish up with is a decent steel blade. And then you can sharpen it, you can put an edge on it, you can polish it all up. And when you're really happy with the blade itself, you can make yourself a nice handle for it, a wooden handle. You can make yourself, well, you use this, I suppose, put it all back together, and then you've got your scabbard even made, and you've hammered out all that Chinese, so you've actually had a go at making your own samurai sword, although most of the work has been done for you. It's the annealing and the normalising and the hardening that you need to learn about the forge before you know, at a basic level. So I think it's fascinating. I'd love to do it. I would absolutely love to do it. I really would. I think it's cool. But my wife won't let me.